training for Kilimanjaro. What do you need to do to make sure that you are one out of every 2 people that actually succeeds on getting to the summit and back down safely on this climb? Well, in this video, I'm sharing with you my 3 elements that are essential for every training program for Kilimanjaro, as well as some common mistakes that I see people making when training for the mountains. So stick around. Hey guys, Chase here from Trekking FAQs, keeping you informed and in shape for the mountains. And if we're just meeting, I'm a strength and conditioning coach from Australia who founded a gym called Basecamp back in 2012. And we work specifically with people who are training for trekking and mountaineering. At last count, I've trained about 300 people for Kilimanjaro. So if you're after a no-nonsense professional opinion on training for Kilimanjaro, then you're in the right place. Now, who is this video for? Well, obviously it's for people who have the goal of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, but it's also specifically for people who have maintained their fitness for most of their life, who are familiar with putting together their own general fitness training programs themselves and following along with them. If you're not too familiar with designing your own programs and you just want to follow something that's clearly laid out for you already, click the link below called Kilimanjaro Program, or hang out to the end of this video where I'll cover it in a little bit more detail. But for those of you who already know your way around a gym and maybe you're just one of those people that likes figuring things out themselves, then I've got some great info for you. These are my 3 elements that must be in a training program for Kilimanjaro. And the first one is strength for endurance. So what do I mean when I say strength for endurance? Well, mountaineering is a tricky thing to train for in that you need both elements of strength and endurance. Now, if you're not too sure what those terms mean, I'll give you an example. For strength, think of a gymnast. Gymnasts spend, apart from their technique training, spend most of the time working on strength. They have incredible bodies, they're basically unbreakable, and the kind of things they do are all attributed to their strength training. We need that kind of element in our training in mountaineering because not only do we need to carry up our own body, but also our pack weight all the way up and more importantly, down the mountain. So we need that strength element, but we also need endurance. Now my example for this is a marathon runner. Think about your typical marathon runner. They're very slim. They're definitely prone to injury because they don't do enough strength training, but the key element is they can just keep going for hours and hours and hours. So we definitely need that element in our training program as well, because some of the days on Kilimanjaro go upwards of 12, 14, 16 hours non-stop. So how do we bring strength elements into our training? Well, most of that is going to be done in the gym, and if you're after specific exercises, you can scan through my YouTube channel. I have a bunch of videos that are specific for strengthening and, more importantly, stabilizing joints and muscles for trekking and climbing. So we want to start off with that strength phase and then transition into endurance training later on in the program. So what we're trying to achieve is that fine balance between strength and endurance, where we have those elements of strength, those unbreakable elements that get us up the mountain and back down safely, as well as the endurance which allows us to carry on for hour after hour. This is exactly what I've designed my Kilimanjaro training program to do. So if you're not up for creating for yourself, you've always got that option. The other thing that I think it's important to mention here, and that's a common mistake, is that people will find a good workout and they'll just continue to do that same workout week in, week out, over and over. That's not going to get you the results that you want because it's not challenging the body. After a certain amount of times doing that workout, your body's now used to doing that and it doesn't even really consider it exercise. We need to continue to ask the body for more by adapting the program week in, week out as we go through. The same goes for the second element, which is important for every Kilimanjaro training program, and that is experience on trail. So doing the same hike every single weekend isn't going to get you the results that you want. What we need to do is change those variables like the length of the hike, the kind of pack weight that you're carrying, and the meters that you're ascending and descending. And in general, we need to be increasing these throughout the training program and allowing for recovery so that you don't get burnt out, which is also super important. The other thing about getting out on trail in the natural environment is that we're testing the gear that you're using. So any problems that you're likely to incur, like blisters, getting your sock shoe combination right, dealing with the pack weight and getting your pack fitted correctly, all those things are going to be ironed out by the time you get to Kilimanjaro if you've done the hiking. So if you're in an area where you really don't have access to any hiking trails, just doing some walking, even if it's on the flat with your gear, will certainly help. But so will having a well-designed training program. Third and final essential element of a good Kilimanjaro training program is going to have, you guessed it, cardiovascular elements. So we're going to use two different cardio protocols in our training for Kilimanjaro. First is going to be interval training. So I love interval training because it replicates that really hard work where you're going uphill for, let's say, 15 minutes of a very steep section. You get to the top, you're panting, it's burning your lungs, the cold air is killing you. Interval training replicates that very, very well. What's also really important is that we're doing steady state cardio. So what that means is you're really only putting about 60 to 70% effort in. It shouldn't feel like a struggle at all. You should be able to do this at conversation pace, meaning that you can hold a conversation while doing this kind of training. That's where we're going to get our true endurance training. There's no shortcut to this. You need to put the hours in, and the best way to do that is either by running, or if you're not a fan of running, you can substitute that with many other different types of cardio. So they're my three crucial elements to a good Kilimanjaro training program. Now I'm going to get into the common mistakes that I see people making all the time when they're training for the mountains. Mistake number one, using treadmills and Stairmasters in your training. I've done a whole separate video on this. It frustrates me beyond belief. You can go and watch that video. But essentially, training on Stairmasters and treadmills, you're only going in one direction, and that's up. Most of the accidents occur on the way down. So unless you're planning on staying at the top, I recommend you avoid Stairmasters and treadmills. Number two mistake that I see all the time, using standard gym machines. These machines are essentially designed to build large, bulky, nice-looking muscle, not functional muscle that gets you up and down mountains. The machine does most of the stability work for you, and all it's doing is just training your muscle to do the same pattern over and over again with no stabilization whatsoever. Mistake number three, not carrying enough load in the backpack for your training hikes. I see this all the time, people carrying 2 or 3 kilos. It's not enough. You need to be at least carrying 8 kilos, which is probably going to be your actual weight on the hike. But then we should be overreaching in our training. So we're going to be training to go slow. So putting extra weight in the backpack is going to slow you down. That's going to be the pace that you're going to be walking at. And it means that we're strength training our body by carrying that heavy weight at the same time. Mistake number 4, using altitude rooms. I'm going to cover this in another video later on. I'll link it up when it's finished. Altitude rooms do not work for acclimatization for mountaineers. They're great, believe me, for other sports that are practicing at sea level, but they do not help you acclimatize. I'm a certified altitude training coach, and I've trained people in altitude rooms for years before I figured out that it has little to no effect on how you acclimatize. So the insane amount of money you're spending on being in the altitude room is really only giving you the tiniest bit of benefit, and in my opinion, it's not worth it. You're better off investing in a good training program that's going to cover all of the elements, not just walking on a treadmill with a little bit less oxygen. Last mistake, number 5, and that's buying poor quality gear. You are heading into an environment which is absolutely brutal, especially in the last few months on Kilimanjaro. It's been really, really cold up there, so don't skimp out by buying cheap gear. I've put together my Kilimanjaro recommended kit. You can see it in the link below. There's a page for females and for males. Just as a disclaimer, there's links through to my Amazon affiliate page. If you do buy something from that page, I'll receive a little commission from it. It helps me to continue making these videos, and it supports the channel. So if you do buy something from there, thank you very much in advance. Now it's time for you guys to get involved. I'm sure for many of you, this is not your first barbecue, and plenty of you have been on treks and climbs before. So I want to know, answer me this, what is the #1 piece of advice you would give to someone who's climbing a mountain? Put it in the comments section below. I love seeing you guys get involved in the channel, and honestly, this is a collection of all information from people in this community to help each other out. So as you can see, there's a lot to consider when you're talking about training for Kilimanjaro. I've tried to squeeze as much information as I could into this short video, but if you found it helpful, please hit the like button, that really helps, and also subscribe for more videos just like this one coming out in the future. Finally, best of luck to all of you who are training to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I hope you make it after all of your hard work. I know these things take a lot of time and preparation, and you're certainly investing a lot in both the gear and the trip itself. So I certainly wish you all the best for your trip. And hey, if you're still not sure exactly where to start with your training, or if you don't have time to create something yourself and you want to make absolutely sure, without a doubt, that you're going to be fit enough to get to the summit of Kilimanjaro, then take advantage of this deal. Head to the link below that says Kilimanjaro program. In the discount code area, put FAQS and you'll get 20% off my Kilimanjaro training program, as a way of saying thanks for finding me here on YouTube and being part of this community. That's all for this video, guys. Until next time, Trekking FAQs is keeping you informed and in shape for the mountains. My name's Chase. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the summit.